I've always liked the sculptural aspect of the cacti, and that's why I like to let them grow and see them evolve and change. And cacti are one of those things, if you grow a rose, except for it flowering, it's always a rose. It doesn't really have any change in character. It might get slightly older, slightly bigger, but with cacti you start off with a little small plant and it grows, and you know, it can become a giant pasacana, and it just looks incredibly different, and that could be your whole life, or you know, whatever, watching it grow. So that's what I really enjoy, is to see plants evolve from just a little seedling. And the latest thing I love is hybridization. We've grown our own new hybrids here, and from the bees doing the crossing, I don't pretend that I did it, the bees do it all. And because we have such a mixture of plants from all over the world, all brought into one location, we're getting some exotic, much higher percentage than you would normally get of exotic plants, with features from one species being transferred to another species or another genera, intergeneric transference of different characteristics, and it's just incredible.
That's an Oreo Cleistocactus.
Hybrid, yeah. And there's a lot of them here.
Yes, they've got a lot of good hybrid vigour, I think, those.
Yeah.
That sort of a cross.
And they really just flower like crazy.
Yes.
A lot of these are hybrids that existed from the early days,
Yep.
so back 50s, 60s. Big boy is, what we call big boy is this one, which has a flower like a, it looks like a tricho. It has a flower like a Oreocereus, and a brilliant red flower on it, just like an Oreocereus flower. I'll show you one of my really interesting hairy crosses.
All right.
Now,
see, I spent a bit of time with this plant already.
and the flower is, it opens out at the end.
Oh.
And it's about that long, and it opens out at the end. It's sterile.
Yes.
So the only way is we'll be doing cuttings this year.
You should be doing cuttings, yes. And
Yeah, no, now that I've retired, I'll be able to do lots of cuttings and swaps.
Yeah. Okay. We'll put ourselves on the list, Paul.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But you know, like that's what I was saying before, Paul, is you got to wait, you watch it grow. It starts off as a little seedling, and then...
Oh, I've got the perfect habitat for that. It's too hot and dry here.
That's a great plant too, because it's the way it's out and it's branched, and
it's got the pasacana thickness.
Yeah, it's just...
it's in between spikes, but when you go over and see our new hybrids over the back over here, you'll see this same spination on them. And then what I like is that a lot of the Oreo crosses, they don't keep that same real hairiness, but this one has actually retained the hairiness. So it's and there's something about the thickness of it and that really sets it aside from most of the taller, you know, we're looking at the Cleisto Oreo crosses and that there, well, they don't have that thickness in them.
No,
they grow tall.
They grow, yeah.
But I would suggest that maybe 50 years from now, this could be 10, 20 foot tall.
Yeah, right.
I think it'll just keep growing.
Yep.
And it's got a woody centre, I'd suggest, by the way it's holding up. And then this is the other one, the other plant that grew that same year.
Okay.
The only two seeds that come up out of a seed pod with maybe 200 or 300. More did come up, but most of them died off really quickly.
Yeah.
But these two were the only two that survived. And this one is also has an improved flower, flowers prolifically, and it really grows very tall, very quick. It has that hybrid vigour. So it's just to give an idea of how big it is already. This would have been planted out how long ago? Probably about 98, just guessing, but probably about 98 this was a small plant, and it was still drought, so it gives you some idea. Half its life here has been in the drought, and there was no supplementary watering in those drought years. I wished I had a supplementary water now, because I had no idea, and I still don't have any idea how big it'll grow. So I still think it has pasacana in it, in the cross.